Ladies and gentlemen, we are just going to start our special session on collaboration, regulation, and opportunities. We have our renowned speakers, Mr. Chandranath Dey, CD India Head JLL. I want to introduce him. He has 18 years of experience in the industrial and logistic real estate. He leads industrial operations, business development, industrial consulting, and integrated logistic practices in JLL India. So, ladies and gentlemen, I invite Mr. Chandranath Dey on stage. Please give a big round of applause for Mr. Chandranath Dey. He's our moderator. Now, I request our panelists to please come upon the stage. So, I would like to invite Mr. Karan Sethi on stage. He is the Senior Assistant Vice President at Invest India. Please give a big round of applause for Mr. Karan Sethi. Ladies and gentlemen, now I request Mr. A Mohan to come upon the stage. He is the CEO and Director at Maini Storage System Private Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause for Mr. A Mohan. And I request Professor Manoj Chaudhary to come upon the stage. He is the Vice Chancellor at Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya. Please give a big round of applause. So they will be discussing over collaboration, regulations, and opportunities.
Thank you so much for the esteemed panelists today. Today's topic is very interesting, and so is the sector we are in right now, right? Collaborations, regulations, and opportunities in the intralogistics and warehousing sector, right? And let me take this opportunity to have introduce the esteemed panelists, Professor Manoj Chaudhary.
Hello, my name is Manoj Chaudhary, and I am currently the first Vice Chancellor of Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya, India's only university in transportation and logistics.
Karan?
My name is Karan Sethi, and I am an Assistant Vice President with Invest India. I lead the infrastructure cluster. Invest India is the investment promotion agency of the Government of India. Thank you.
Mr. Mohan?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Mohan. I am the CEO and Director of Maini Storage Systems. We are into the business of making storage solutions for warehouses.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for taking time out and joining this panel. Let me set up the context for the panel today. We're talking about the opportunities and the regulations in the logistics and intralogistics segment. Indian logistics market is close to around $500 billion, expected to reach that number by 2030. And if we look at the different modes of transportation, how it's shaping up in the country, we are talking about Indian Railways, which is the fourth largest in the world in terms of network length, right? Fourth largest. However, if you see the rail share of cargo in logistics, is just about 27%. Right, as compared to a US, which is more than 50% in terms of rail share of cargo. And let me tell you, a railway is the second cheapest mode of transport when it comes to the cost, right? So we are actually having a large network, but probably not utilizing it to the fullest extent. Roadways, second largest road network after US in the country, but however is also the costliest mode of transport when it comes to the four modes of transport, and close to 60% of India's cargo moves through road. Waterways, the cheapest mode of transport, but just about less than a percentage of all cargo transports through waterways. Warehousing sector, close to 1 billion square feet of warehousing space and growing at a rate of 15% CAGR. On the regulatory front, there's a lot of activities from the government which is happening in terms of national logistic policy, in terms of realignment of government goals with respect to setting up a Gati Shakti program to promote multimodal logistics platforms, improve skill sets, etc. So today we'll discuss through all these opportunities, regulatory platforms, and how and what the industries feel as such. So I'll take the first questions to Mr. Mohan as such. And so my question to you, on a warehousing platform, right, when you do a construction of a warehouse, close for every 1,000 rupees spent on a square feet of warehouse, there's a more than 500 rupees per square feet spent on intra-logistics, automation and mechanization which happens, right? So what is your views in that, and what is the opportunity that you see in this space?
Thank you very much. So it's a very, very vast subject, very difficult question to answer in a single line. I think I need to give you a little bit of a background on this question. Is that, in warehouses, when they try to spend money for many different things. I mean, at the outset, there are many products where they just do ground storage. So there is no real expenditure as such. They just rent the warehouse and do ground storage. You'll be surprised to see a lot of FMCG companies still follow that. Not everything is structured storage system. The second part of it is that you will have a lot of storage which will happen in pure pallet tracking, as you call it, where they store it on pallets. There the cost is very less. It's about 300-400 rupees per square feet. The new thing which is happening is the multi-layer, multi-level storage system. It's called multi-tier shelving systems, where you go ground plus 4, ground plus 5 system. Nowadays the warehouses are going up to 16-meter high. So there the cost can be as high as 1500 rupees a square feet. So 1000 rupees for your VEB construction and 1500 rupees for the fit out. And then comes the next level is automation. In these, all whatever I told you is all static. If you talk about automation, depending on the volume and the throughput requirements, automation is always defined by throughput. What throughput is required. Based on that, it can even be 3,000 to 5,000 rupees a square feet. So it can be 4 or 5 times that. That's how the whole game changes.
Wonderful. So increasing the efficiency within the warehouse through these intra-logistics investments happening through ASRS systems, etc. Thank you so much for your views on this piece. I'll take it to Karan. Karan, India has come a long way when it comes to logistics performance and logistics performance index, which is a global index maintained by World Bank, right? From a rank of 54 in 2014 to in 10 years to 38, right? But there are a lot of improvements which is needed in this spectrum. So what are the avenues of improvement that you see as Invest India, and what are the actions that you have seen that the government are taking in this front?
Thank you for the question. I think I'd like to start off with, you mentioned the improvement in LPI rankings which has happened, and this is something I mentioned in the previous discussion as well. I think in the last 1 decade, this government has laid a tremendous amount of emphasis on developing, augmenting infrastructure, clearly viewing it as a means of providing a foundation for GDP growth, and also to improve the movement of goods and services and the quality of life of the common man. I think what this government did very differently was lay out pipelines. We had the National Infrastructure Pipeline, which earmarked $1.3 trillion. Then we also had specific programs. You had Bharatmala for highways, you had Sagarmala for ports, the Udaan scheme. We've had game-changing projects such as DFC and high-speed rail and railways. So I think a lot of the work in terms of augmenting infrastructure has been laid out through those programs. And although we have ambitious targets to further this, I think a key game changer now, which we perceive is integrating all of these systems together, and that's where PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan is expected to be a game changer. And I think Sir will talk a bit more about that. But also projects such as multimodal logistics parks are coming into the fray. So I think with augmentation in infra, the next place is integrating the infra in order to optimize supply chain. And another aspect that I'd also like to mention here, that the government is also laying emphasis on monitoring these projects. I don't know if we're aware of the project monitoring group, which is set up by the cabinet in order to intervene where infra projects of more than 500 crores are stuck at, say, between 2 ministerial disputes. So these are projects which are being monitored by the cabinet. We all know infrastructure projects entail a lot of cost and time, and if we're able to bring that down and integrate logistics, I think you'll see the ranking improve even more.
Wonderful. And I like the specific idea of saying monitoring, how government is monitoring the growth and the performance of the logistics sector, or probably giving that one single window to approve all those multimodal projects, right? To give a greater visibility. Thank you, Karan. I'll move on to Professor Sir. In terms of Gati Shakti, when say PM Gati Shakti, there's a lot of focus with respect to using technology and interfaces like ULIP, right, in terms of having more visibility, end-to-end visibility to a customer, etc. How do you see technology playing a role in the overall logistics scenario and in the space?
So first of all, thank you for inviting me to join this panel. We are all living in a technology world where technology is driving and forcing each and every action that we take, right from social media to ride sharing to watching streaming videos. We are surrounded by technology. In order that infrastructure sector, that is one of the largest sector in terms of capex, that is one of the sector which merely having a look at your infrastructure can tell you whether you're a developed country or not. You can look at rails, you can look at roads, and you can easily tell whether you're a developed country or not, right? India's significant investment plan through PM Gati Shakti plan of the tune of 1.2 trillion US dollar, single largest plan after our independence, is PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan. If you put in the context, our economy size today of maybe 3.7 trillion dollar, right? And this 1.2 trillion is not in 1 year, it may be of some years, but it's a very significant investment. If you see last year's budget 10 lakh crore in infrastructure, this year's budget 11.11 lakh crore. Significant growth that Dr. Karanji mentioned, whether in railways, today with 70,000 kilometer track length, we are adding 5,000 kilometer track length every year. You look at highways, we were maybe around 70,000 kilometers national highways in 2014. Today we are 1,46,000 kilometers. We had airports, we had 74 airports. Today we are 149 airports. We look at maritime sector. Every single area, you look at data, there is a tremendous focus on infrastructure spending. The question is, one is how you spend, and second is how do you build using that amount. In order to make a synergized development between ministries, between departments, and break silos, PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan was launched. It focuses significantly on usage of technology, primarily, and the first as geospatial GIS-based technology. Gati Shakti PM National Master Plan is based on 5 E's, right? He mentioned about ease of doing business, ease of project monitoring, ease of planning, ease of governance, ease of permissions. This is the 5E model of the Gati Shakti plan. It is based on technology. 6 main pillars of the Gati Shakti plan technology are comprehensiveness, that is, it is based on optimum GIS planning, utilizing satellite data available from an institute in Ahmedabad called BISAG. BISAG is where you get all the satellite map data for infrastructure planning. Then it is based on prioritization, it is based on synchronization. These are the key pillars on which a Gati Shakti plan is based on. You can create a superior infrastructure through Gati Shakti plan. Logistics is not merely infrastructure. Logistics is how do you leverage that infrastructure in an efficient manner. Therefore, to complement PM Gati Shakti plan, which was launched in October 2021, a national logistics policy was launched in 17 September 2022, right? Whose main focus is technology-based leveraging of the superior infrastructure to improve upon logistics efficiency, which is based on, again, on few aspects. The aspects can be related to states' participation, aspects can be related to a digital intervention like ULIP platform, which is an integration of 33 different subsystems. It is again based on coming to warehouses. It includes an important section that is on how do you standardize physical assets and how do you define standards for service quality benchmarks. So these are some of the important aspects which enable technology usage in the logistics sector in the infrastructure sector. So I'll stop here at this moment. So I think this is the Gati Shakti plan and logistics policy.
Thank
in
you so
technology.
much.
I just want to add to what Professor Manoj Chaudhary said. So I am also the founder director of an association called Warehouse Association of India. And under the Warehouse Association of India, part of the NLP, National Logistics Policy, we actually released a handbook for warehouses.
Yeah.
How to establish warehouses, which covers everything from developing a world-class infrastructure for the warehousing segment to improve efficiency of logistics, improve efficiency of storage, improve deployment of technology into the warehouses. And the first edition was launched as part of the under the NLP Aegis itself in 2022 August. Yeah. So we have now DPIIT has asked us to do a version 2 of that, and I am the technical chair of that. And then that is also going to be released any day now, because I think during elections, I think it's ready. We've already submitted to the government the version 2 of it, and that's another updation to that document. And that also could aid all the users to actually, people say, do this, do that, but how is nobody tells you that. So
Exactly.
this is the how part of it we've tried to resolve through this book.
Yeah.
You
No,
know.
I think it's an excellent, I would say, the endeavor by WAI with respect to standardization of warehousing norms and be in every formats, right? Right. I know that I have been part of the drafting of the first piece also, where we reached out to all the large scale 3PL players to understand what are the palletization standards, etc. And I really appreciate the 5 points that you mentioned, Professor Chaudhary. Okay, let me take it to another question on the logistics. Primarily, the e-commerce piece. Typically, as we must have seen in most of our recent research, that e-commerce space, the absorptions has reduced significantly. But what's important to note that there's just about 19% of all retail is online retail, which is e-commerce globally, right? And 20% of that wants to have a few hour delivery. These I don't know sometimes if this is should be promoted or not, because there's a lot of environmental impact with respect to sustainability, with respect to the manpower costs, etc. involved in it. And to you, sir, my question to you is: what is your views on the long-term sustainable model for quick deliveries for e-commerce? And do you think there's a regulation or regulatory tab that we should have in this space as well?
Okay, so I think we have seen a bit of a transformation. If you look at it, the e-commerce per se started to gain a lot of traction and speed post-COVID, or during COVID and post-COVID. That's when it happened, right? So you have seen companies offering one-day delivery, half-an-hour delivery, 3-hour delivery, 4-hour delivery, and all those things. And I think now we have passed all of that. Okay, most of those stages are completed now. Now nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about 1-day delivery, 2-day delivery, because anything can be there. You can get a product in 10 days. You can get the product in 10 hours, right? So depending on that. So now all the e-commerce companies have actually gone and tweaked their websites to, based on product, they manage the delivery. But what has significantly changed is your Kirana store coming into your house. That has changed significantly. So what you call the quick commerce or the last mile delivery, which happens now, that's a very significant piece which has happened with Swiggy's and Blinkits and all offering 10-minute and 15-minute delivery by the establishment of dark stores very close to each area. So within a 2-kilometer radius, they are able to deliver that, and that has significantly changed the play, because now the people having to go to a Kirana store has been prevented. Instead, it comes to your house. And it also helps families, because they don't have to actually go once a week, stock it up. You can now pick up on a daily basis if you want to. If you choose to do that, it's possible to do it at a very nominal cost. So your delivery cost is very nominal. And I think that is here to stay. In my opinion, that's a transformation that has happened. And I think that's here to stay. Whatever happened. The other parts of it is, I think, is already gone past that. Today, you don't really have Flipkarts or Amazons or anybody delivering to you and saying, okay, I'll give you in 6 hours, I'll give you in 8 hours, depending on the product. I mean, if you buy a high value mobile phone, they can deliver in 3 hours. If you buy a fashion product, it may come in after 4 days. You know, if you order 10 line items, it can take 15 days. You know, by the time all the 10 line items come. So they don't mind incurring multiple logistics costs by delivering two pieces on second day, third day, fourth day, etc. So they give you a schedule on your app to tell you when you're getting the delivery. So I think we're past all of that. So the last mile part of it, the day-to-day grocery stuff, vegetable stuff, that is here to stay, in my opinion.
Wonderful. Good to know that for your views on that. I see that when a cook comes in and there's no haldi, there's somebody is doing a blinkit, right? and it comes before time, right? So that's the efficiency. I've spoken to our colleagues in US. They can't imagine this kind of services at that prices. So that's where the question was in terms of the sustainability overall. Today, India manpower is still affordable. Probably in future might be difficult. Okay, let me switch gears to a bit about manufacturing, right? In the last 4 years, that is post-COVID, right? Out of all the FDIs that had come in, and I take it to Karan, or close to 26% or 1/4 of all FDIs was for manufacturing purposes, right? And this is probably because of a lot of changes in the socio-political and economical climate change that has happened over the last 4 years in the country. Where do you see India taking a position as a manufacturing hub at a regional level?
Thank you, CD. I think I'll just again turn the clock back a little bit on this one because I think it's important to understand the background context on that. In fact, Invest India was formed when Make in India was launched. You know, so I think today in our various day-to-day interactions with companies, we've realized that we no longer need to tell them about India. I think all of us, when we open the newspapers every day, we read about some CEO, CXO saying we're coming to India or we're expanding in India. So I think the last decade, all the I think all the trips that the Honorable Prime Minister took, all the meetings that he did, all the delegations that have visited all these Fortune 100 companies in their own backyards. I think everyone was sort of convinced about the India story. And then COVID turned out to be, I think, again, a very pivotal point where even post-COVID, something I think that we all maybe forget these days, I think India has been a shining star, right? I mean, if you look at us in comparison with Europe or even other countries of the world, the way India's come out has been truly tremendous. And I think hence, to add to that, the geopolitical tensions, I think it's very pertinent today for companies to look at India in order to de-risk their supply chains. And not just that, external factors aside, I think everyone is realizing the power of India's inherent fundamentals. You know, we talk about demographic dividend. We've entered that age where 600 million hands and minds are going to contribute towards the growth of this nation. Apart from that, you're also looking at 1.4 billion people consuming products. We talk about the per capita income probably doubling in the next 10 years. So I think it's important for companies to come to India not just to maybe export, become a factory to the world, but also to cater to 1.4 billion people. We talked about the revolution which has happened through tech, through digital, the digital stack which has been created. It is, even I hear from our foreign companies who are marveled that, you know, we can pay a rickshaw person through a Paytm app. We can make transactions in a matter of 30 seconds. So I think those are things which are truly revolutionizing India, which are truly changing the way we transact and we do business, because I think it's acting a lot of speed. And the more speed, you're going to see, you know, us achieving our GDP targets a lot faster. So yes, I think it's imperative for everyone to be here now.
Yeah, no denying the fact that in like last 4 years there has been sea change, and I can still recall Make in India 2.0 after the first 5 years, right? The transformational changes in corporate tax regime that we brought in terms of PLI that we brought in, that has changed the entire dynamics of manufacturing in the country. Okay, from the manufacturing space, I'll go back to to logistics space as such, and Professor Chaudhary, again a question to you. Gati Shakti, National Gati Shakti Plan or one National Logistic Program focuses on lot on skill development of people, in this improvement of skill? How do you see the skill development actually happening? We're talking about millions of people in the logistics space which need skill upliftment. And I'm sure you are one of the, you head one of the organizations which is into skill development as such. Tell us more about how, examples of how the same is being done.
Okay. Before I come to the question that you mentioned about skill, right? I want to first continue from the manufacturing space that Dr. Karan talked about. In order to have positive, continued and sustained business climate for any country, what is needed is a consistency in approach, a consistency in our policies, in consistency in our outlook. Therefore, it is not a coincidence that any manufacturing operations, whether they have been happening in automotive manufacturing, now with mobile manufacturing, we are already there. We are now talking about electronic, we are moving to semiconductor. It is one thing to make a progressive policy, but no investor will invest just because you are a cheap place. Investor will invest provided there is a value that can be given. So one of the aspects he mentioned about demographic dividend. Second is about the skill and scale that is available in India, whichever sector we look at. Particularly if you talk about transportation sector, logistics sector, railways, we already mentioned about largest networks. How do we are moving in 2030, by 2030 to increase multimodal share in railways from 27% to 40%, right? In currently logistics sector alone, this morning in one session we talked about there are 28 million, that is 2.8 crore people working in the sector. It is expected that by 2027, a survey by Team Lee Services, that we shall add additional 1 crore people in the logistics sector. The question is not the number. Number is a worker's game. Today's world is a technology-enabled world where it is not merely the hands, it is the minds of the people that is more important than the number of hands. And that is where, to make a progress towards technology-enabled world, we are working on three-pronged approach. First approach is regular education programs, working with industry. How do we create industry-relevant programs where young people pursue degree and join workforce at that level? The key here is industry relevance. One, industry's strong participation in the program, both in content definition as well as content delivery. That is the first aspect. The second important aspect is, because we have 2.8 crore people working in the field already, how do we upskill and reskill themselves? And therefore, executive training program is of utmost importance. And therefore, we have to have hybrid models, online models to train people. I will give you one example, right? Today, the Gati Shakti plan, though primarily when it was started, it was talked more like panacea to our infrastructure planning and monitoring is that were resulting into cost overruns or schedule overruns. But Gati Shakti plan is not only about infrastructure. Today, if we have to plan, for example, where a primary health center should be built in a village, this is where Gati Shakti plan is used to define how many people are living, where is the next health center and so on. In this budget, we talked a lot more focus on economics. We talked about economic corridors being built, even in the railways. That is for energy sector, for mineral sector, for cement sector. How do we build economic corridors and how do we efficiently transport energy, cement or minerals from one place to other, bringing down the cost of logistics. We also talked about Rail Sagar Yojana. How do we connect railway to the ports? Now, where skilling is used, for example, you have an energy or minerals concentration in a particular area. You know, most of the industries in that economic corridors are related to that particular sector. How can you identify the skill needs for a particular region? That is where people are going to work in the labor force, and have skilling programs particular to that region in that particular area is an example of the Gati Shakti plan. So regular education, executive education, continuing education, hybrid mode, online mode, One big thing that we have done with DPIIT recently through an agreement that we signed on 4th of October 2023 is to train all the officers of state administrative services and that of central administrative services all across India. Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya was made as the central nodal agency. Why? Logistics is not merely about transporting goods from one place to other. Logistics is also in the food and civil supplies department. Logistics is in every single sector, whether in ration shops, in army, biggest example of logistics. So we shall train around 50,000 officers through various platforms, online platforms, by having such training programs in different states at the administrative training institutes. And currently we are working with DPIIT, Capacity Building Commission and LBS National Academy in Missouri to have this training program done. So I believe that a multi-pronged approach has to be done. Today's universities cannot work in silos, just preparing programs and waiting for graduates and churning out graduates. We have to look at massive skill upgradation plan. And that is what we are doing. That is what we have to do, as I mentioned, with Invest India is also about investing in India. And you cannot invest better than investing in developing skills of the people in India. Skill India, Make in India, Digital India. We have recently signed an agreement on 14th of February with Karmyogi Bharat. That is on iGot platform to train all the civil servants of India. We shall create digital content and program and put on iGot so that civil servants across India can be trained on that. So these are various steps that we have to do. All I want to mention is, if Gati Shakti National Master Plan is all about building synergies and breaking silos, Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya imbibes the soul of it in making sure that no silos exist when there is a learning, and learning is the motto that we have to move forward for whole of India.
Wonderful, very well said, sir, in terms of breaking silos and making synergies, right? Okay, let me quickly wrap it up with one last set of questions with all of you, and probably that goes with the theme of the world today, right? Sustainability. Sustainability in logistics, sustainability in warehousing. A quick point to all of you, how do you think is India doing on a scale of 1 to 5 on the sustainability front? And what do you think is the needs of improvement, or is there anything that we are doing or we should be doing in the warehousing or the manufacturing front?
Continuing on what Manoj beautifully articulated, the entire structure of how the government policy is and the implementation program is. I believe now the sustainability is more visible and will be more visible, will be more amplified as we put policy into action. I think that is definitely going to happen. The momentum has picked up, and we also see a lot of discussion at the industry level. Although in terms of real manufacturing, I don't see much of growth. In terms of export, it is happening in specifically some areas. But the work which has happened right now in terms of policy and the action plan which has been drawn up about multimodal, Sagarmala, Bharatmala and all these things will actually yield results in the next 5 to 10 years. That's my feeling. It's going to be there. But whenever it does happen, it will be 100% sustainable because it's built on a very strong foundation. It's not just a discussion which has happened, but it will sustain itself. That's my belief.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let me probably, I think we are running off the time hook here. Let me quickly wrap up with what we discussed today in a short summary. And I'll pick up some keywords, right? As I'm breaking the silos is something which I picked up from him. And typically we make in India 2.0, again, what I saw from you in terms of sustainability angles, what we are seeing, even in the front of quick commerce is there to stay, right? So a lot of activity and a positive environment in the logistics space at this point in time, and government is taking right steps in policy front, monitoring those on a very timely manner, right? For example, the empowered group of ministers which monitor all the multimodal logistic projects with a single visibility as such. A lot of activity on the policy front also from the government as such. We hope that this continues and India takes the center stage in the development and becomes a Viksit Bharat as we see it at 100 years of independence. With that, I'll close this panel discussion, thanking all of you on the panel. Thank you so much.
I request Ms. Radhika to please come up on the stage from Messe Stuttgart India Private Limited to felicitate our moderator, Mr. Chandranath Dey. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause for our moderator, Mr. Chandranath Dey, CD India Head, Operations, Business Development, Industrial Consulting and Integrated Logistic and Industrial JLL. Please give a big round of applause. I request Ms. Radhika to please felicitate our renowned speaker, Mr. Karan Sethi. He is the Senior Assistant Vice President at Invest India. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause for Mr. Karan Sethi. एक बार जोरदार तालियां हो जाए, ladies and gentlemen, for our renowned speakers. I request Ms. Radhika to please felicitate Mr. Mohan, CEO, Director, Arms Maini Storage System Private Limited. Please give a big round of applause for Mr. Mohan, ladies and gentlemen. And we are very obliged to have you here, sir, Professor Manoj Chaudhary ji from Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya, sir. You are here with us from last 3 sessions. So please give a big round of applause for our speakers, for our renowned moderator and all the panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause and thank you so much for joining us.